that break was about as long as the last game.
Yep, exactly. First of all, Drogo held one thing in that best of 5, which might, you know, feel way good for him. Once again, can he bring it back now that he has one game to himself? It would have been a really sad thing to see him go 3-0, but he just defended a build that actually killed him in the first game. So now he gets to probably play a macro game. We're gonna be on Frost, which is, in my opinion, a pretty decent map for PvT, especially if they get cross positioned. So we'll see about that when we actually load up into the game.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's do that here. MaSa versus PtitDrogo. And I'm glad that we're not seeing, you know, two one-sided series so far, although, you know, the first one was pretty straightforward. This here for a second looked like it might be a 3-0, but no. We're in map number 4 here on Frost, and starting in the bottom left-hand side of the map, playing as the red Terran, it's, of course, elevates MaSa. Will he play that aggressive again?
I don't think that's a really good map for it, but we'll see. MaSa is a pretty aggressive player. In the top left, he won his first game just before for France and my insanity. It's PtitDrogo.
Allez, les bleus. Let the bias resonate. MaSa is pretty cool too. I'd be happy if he won here, but obviously, you know, being French, we have to cheer for Drogo
you know,
a bit more.
He lives in Canada. Isn't that somehow France in a way? I don't know.
Well, not French Canada.
No.
We will need Desro for that.
Oh, yeah.
Drogo looks like he's just going to be the same opener. He has pretty much always Gateway, Gas, and then Nexus. And a very quick scout, and he gets the Fortunate Scout for a guy who, you know, really gets rustled when he gets a little bit unlucky. He gets the perfect start here in terms of information. And last game, actually, that's what really allowed him to go for the perfect defense, by the way. That scout alone in the last game showed him that there was 2 gases. He knew there was going to be aggression coming. MaSa chose to stick to the original plan, even though he knew that Drogo knew. And in this case, it just didn't work out. Drogo's defense was perfect. Pulled the probes, got the Immortals after. Even chasing across the map the way he did, by the way, was a great way to seal the deal. As much as MaSa was in a lot of trouble, he might have been able to gather enough units to do a very strong second wave. But in this case, Drogo didn't even give him any air or any chance to do this.
If you hesitate for a few seconds, maybe there's a Liberator coming up and your units are not in position, you lose a couple of probes, you get rustled again. But yeah, MaSa followed Arthos' advice and actually lost. What does it mean? What does it mean? I don't know.
It means whatever you think it means.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So we'll see a factory build after the CC this time from MaSa. So this could be a Hellion build, actually. You could have like a switcheroo between the racks and the factory. It's pretty decent on this map because you don't have any ramp towards the second base. It used to be really popular in HOTS, and we used to play that map in HOTS as well. So we'll see if MaSa decides to go for this. He has a Stargate behind, and I would argue that Drogo goes for the almost 2 standard build. Like he goes for the Robo Twilight Zez build with the really early third Nexus.
But if you consider yourself better than your opponent, I think just playing standard and then trying to outplay him from there. You don't have to do fancy things, right? Usually the one that's the underdog, he's the one who has to try to do fancy things. Kind of like Ayasunu earlier against Showtime, in which he was only able to surprise him in the first game. So here I'm pretty sure both players, they consider themselves better than the opponent, but then there is always that variant of being able to say that if you do something special, there is a chance it really surprises the opponent, and then it's worth it to try something risky, which so far, MaSa playing this aggressive, as much as he's capable of it, usually doesn't do it that often, this many games in a row in his whole series. So in terms of mind games, I think it's really cool that what we've seen so far from the Terran player in particular.
Yeah, and especially this game, I think the build he's using is really clever. Like, let's talk about it just after this Hellions poke. No, they're not going to go for it. There's an Adept and the Mothership Core and a Pylon, so you shouldn't be able to do that much damage.
I mean, I don't think he cares about the Adept or the Mothership Core. It's more about the Pylon, right?
Yeah, the Pylon.
If you see a Pylon run away,
it's like, oh my god, I don't want to fight that anyway.
I don't want no piece of that Pylon.
So going back to the build that MaSa's doing, I really like the tiny adjustment that he did in a way that he made so that those double aliens that like I mentioned in the beginning, but he's still going, and I thought it was a starport, the third building that he made, I thought it was a starport, but it's actually a second barracks. So he's actually transitioning right now into a quick double drop after Hellion pressure. So he still has that on the map.
Yeah.
Didn't do any damage, but it's still good for map control. And he's going to transition to that, you know, double drop build that always can do some damage if the Protoss is not aware of it.
Yeah, especially I think if he hopes to catch Drogo off guard, say very soon here. He makes, usually you make 2 medivacs pretty much immediately here when you starport gets the reactor. So far he's only started 1. If you fill up those 2 medivacs, boost across the map, drop into the natural of the Protoss. Right now there is only 1 pylon which is at the front, so the back of that mineral line is very exposed. It could be taken out very fast. So Drogo's gonna have to watch out for this. He's gonna have to get enough units. Although he's on 3 gateways, his unit count is very low right now. It's only 2 adepts and 2 sentries, which sure, like Guardian Shield is gonna be nice. But he's going to need more adepts for sure against the amount of Marines that could hit him. And I'm pretty sure that MaSa... I mean, when you start playing aggressive like this, and you find success, you go up 2-0, even if you lose a game, I think you still keep on being aggressive a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Unless you really want to do something crazy and go for a super greedy 3rd command center, which actually might have worked here. But in this case, MaSa, he's played it a little bit more standard. And with the medivac he's getting now, I'm actually surprised he hasn't started his 2nd one yet, although like the 1st one just started recently.
Yeah, he has the supply, he has the money to do it, so he definitely needs to do it instantly. But he mentioned a hotkey problem once again, so maybe it was a hotkey problem for the medivac. We don't really know. And the game is going to go back live right now. We can go back into the game.
By the way,
it's still 2-1.
Shout out to Observer. Coca, how does it feel to be on the other side, other end of the spectrum here for once?
It's really good because usually when I cast while observing. This time I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, but like when you not when you observe at the international tournaments.
Oh yeah, no. I mean when I when I'm back. But
usually you're the one receiving the praise for the observing, whereas now like
it's
we're praising Coca,
but
and like you're probably thinking like, what about me? Well, you're not observing.
yeah. No, he deserves it. He deserves it. He's doing really well.
First observer was sniped by MaSa. I think he wanted to kind of be stealth when he moves out here and goes for the first drop. And he did only. I'm really surprised by this. Like, why would you go for a single medivac if you went for a very fast reactor?
I don't really know. I think
he gets 2 more now, and his army count is going to be good here for a moment. But Drogo, is going to catch up very nicely.
Okay, those 2 aliens went back to the 3rd base, tried to deal some damage. They actually get 3 probes, but I don't think that's any problem whatsoever right now. What Drogo needs to do is defend properly.
The observer.
He avoided the scan with the observer, which is really good. What is he doing with the mothership core? Yeah, go back there on the natural.
Double medivac. He's going to drop in the natural, but I can't see actually how many units.
There's like a mine, a marauder, and a marine.
Okay.
Like it's
he's gonna
such a random drop.
He's gonna regroup with the rest and maybe try and get up on the high ground behind the middle line of the 3rd.
Yeah, he's gonna strike on the 3rd base. The stim just finished, so he's able to deal a lot of damage. And considering the mothership core is out of position, ooh, that immortal on the left, that immortal is gonna get taken out without doing any damage. That's really bad for Drogo, but he has a lot of force fields. The two first force fields were really good for Drogo with the mine. Oh,
he didn't get the snipe with the first volley here of his unit. So
what happened with that range?
So much damage. And MaSa now, he's probably thinking about actually engaging into this. And there is no Guardian Shield left.
Yeah, no Guardian
Shield. He's
going to
go for it, gets the Immortal pretty much immediately. The Winnow Mine behind this, he's still not shooting. He's going to pull back, try and pull Drogo into it, which he dodges it at the last second.
Okay, but anyways, he held. There is still no 3rd TC. Okay, see, the 3rd TC, sorry, is getting built in the main base right now, but it's still really slow. So I'm guessing right now, position-wise, I like where Drogo is, but
that
he needs
siege
to
is
avoid.
very strong.
Yeah, he needs to avoid getting too much damage in.
The Observer died, so he made another one that's actually flying in there right now when there's still a scan active. Gonna have to be careful, even though it's about to finally end. Yeah, he pulls back.
It's 46 army supply to 36.
Wow,
and he's still
so many probes are dying.
Yep.
He's got 9 just now.
Okay, he's gonna try to maybe catch the reinforcements. I don't know about this fight. Okay, the Immortal is dealing so much damage, but that mine, okay, it doesn't have time to shoot, and now that Liberator is so exposed, so he's gonna get taken out, and there is no drop coming Drogo's way. So he held once again, still 3 bases, a lot of minerals floating, so he's building 4 gateways right now, and once again,
Drogo, for someone who has been critical of MaSa's macro, if you look at the minerals, he's doing quite a bit worse. He finally spent a lot of what he had, getting a bunch of gateways right now, and his supply is really going to start completely taking off. But MaSa, all alike, even though he was being aggressive, back at home he made exactly enough barracks. The 3rd command center, was completed. You mentioned that he always forgets the Armory, which so far, I mean, it might still be a little bit too early for him to get it. But if he wanted to get a second eBay and an Armory, I guess very, very soon here would be the right timing, unless he wants to stay on 1-1 upgrades and do a massive attack, which, to be honest, with the damage that he's dealt a little bit here and there, I wouldn't fault him for it. But no, the Armory now does start.
Yeah. I thought he wouldn't go for the Armory actually, because he was building so many Liberators and double mines at the same time, which is a really expensive gas count. And right now, I love what he's doing, and Drogo is so much out of position. He's gonna get dropped with a lot of Liberators and 5 Medivacs at the same time on the
Mothership
natural.
core was in the main, so all of the pylons are gonna die right away. Widow mines are gonna be set up perfectly here on that base. The Nexus, he's gonna be targeted, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna go down. If MaSa actually wants it to go down, and he's gonna go just. I mean, he's crushing through here. He can even evacuate if he wants to.
Okay, can he evacuate? That's a really big
There's not
question.
that many Stalkers.
Oh my god, all the Adepts just shaded in, and all the Immortals just going
There's
ham.
no entire.
Yeah, no entire. Where are all the Stalkers?
There were not that many of them. I think he lost them in the previous fight, and Drogo never really made that many. He only had like 4. He's redropping. What?
Yeah, he's redropping because the Liberators are still in place. And right now the target fire is amazing by MaSa. All the Stalkers are falling. And now the Immortals are going to go down also. Those 4 Stalkers on the top might get it. Okay, he's going to lose 1 more Stalker. But if you look at the supply, MaSa is already 50 ahead now. It is really bad for the French Protoss right
He's
there.
swapping in sentries. That's how desperate he's getting here right now. He's lost a lot of income here, Drogo, with that big attack here from MaSa. What a great move here. Setting up a Marine at the Watchtower, seeing the Protoss move out at the timing he wasn't supposed to move out. And then the big boost and attack steaming in right there.
Okay.
There's just way more army supply. 17 army supply, 25. GG. And MaSa moves on to the quarterfinals, where he will face Showtime.
Really
I
great
think
series.
at the end of tomorrow. Wow, what a match here from the Canadian players. Super well done.
In my opinion, there's nothing to be said about MaSa's performance. He was just perfect throughout the series. He picked the right builds.
Yeah.
He was good aggressively. Once again, you mentioned the Marine on the Watchtower. That's all you need to get a Protoss out of position, and then that Liberator Doom Drop combo is so hard to defend, and especially on this map. So
MaSa most likely came into this tournament very hungry, because in the last tournament over in Valencia at DreamHack, he actually got forfeited in his first match because he showed up too late, and then that really made him very upset. He told me from his second match, and he kind of tilted and just lost his second match that he played in his group stage. So when you travel from Canada to Spain and go out immediately when you play in a big tournament like this, I'm pretty sure that the next one you go into, you really want to do well in. And here in this case, pretty good start here, beating Drogo nonetheless. But we're going to head to the break, and then when we come back, we're going to hear some words here from our Canadian Terran, MaSa.
At IEM Shanghai. My name is Lycan. Joining us now, along with Big, we have MaSa, who just took down PtitDrogo 3-1. How do you feel after that? You were a little nervous going into the game.
I mean, one build, and he just did every single game, except like maybe one game out of 10. But So I was. But.
Yeah.
I want to say you had a little bit of a rough run recently over in Valencia, and coming off that, did you feel a little bit more pressure here to perform?
I was just really embarrassed. Like, I thought this would be my chance to redeem, and it wasn't really far from Valencia. So I was under a lot of pressure as well, but I think I prepared really well against him.
Yeah, you came out really well there. Of course, aggression working out very well for you throughout those games as well. It felt like it went very well in the first 2 games, and then in the third game, finally Drogo kind of had the answer to that specific build on Frozen Temple. Do you feel like after that, did you change your game plan, or were you always planning to play a bit more of a macro-oriented build on Frost?
Frost? I was never going to do like 1 base or 2 base tank because it's really bad. It was good when it first came up, but everybody knows the answer now. And Frozen Temple, the only reason I did it was because Maru did it, and he made it work somehow. I'm not as good at him, so I couldn't make it work. Yeah.
Facing Showtime next. How do you feel going against him?
I got no more people. I think it was 3-0 last time for him against me. This time at least I'm gonna put up some fight. I know how to play a bit more than that.
Alright, how do you feel against Protoss overall?
I think from like mouse, no keyboard issues and whatever. Yeah.
You were 10th, you might be 8th right now. How do you feel? Think you're going to make it?
So this time it's going to be like the...
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you, MaSa. And we're going to send it back to the desk. Kalaris?
All right, thank you very much, guys. That is MaSa moving on to the round of 8. And what a series overall. I mean, there was kind of blows here and blows there. It was very, very quick in regards to kind of his execution. Mixed things up a little bit there.
Yeah, I'm pretty shocked at how this played out. I mean, we were talking a little bit about Drogo sometimes being an emotional player. I don't want to contribute this entire series to his emotions, but the fact, you open up game number 1, you travel all the way from France to China, you show up here, and then like the first thing that happens, you lose your mothership core in a position where you don't have to lose it, and then on the other side of the map, you see that little line of death, like of the Cyclone connecting with your Oracle, and then it barely dies. And I mean, that's enough for me to throw my keyboard out of the window. Like, I'm done by then, No more soccer. Now, that's hard when you make it all the way to China. You got to play a best of 5, but that's a disastrous way to start off your best of 5.
Yeah, definitely.
What a great way to start off a best of 5 with MaSa, though. You barely managed to catch that Oracle, and then there you go. You pop the champagne. It's all good. So.
Yeah, I bet you were having a whale of a time in the back, checking out some of the highlights there from our series. So, Nathanius, why don't you take us through some of those highlights and have a look at them?
Sure thing. I mean, this series started off with a very straightforward 2-base tank build. We've seen this so often in the Korean leagues. The desperation from Drogo, who took that fast third, didn't have enough to deal with this. We saw him handle it better later, but even in like the last moments, he's able to reinforce by keeping that tank alive with barely any health against it. And then New Gettysburg, things just fell apart so fast. The Hellions in the back, the Marines in the front. Like, this was just such a disaster.
I mean, we were talking about how Game 1 was a bit of a disaster. It was all going MaSa's way, but this went even further in his direction as all the harass did all the damage. He loses Warp Prism, GG's out. New GG's out there. And then we go into Game 3 where he tries this 1-base play.
Yeah, he had a much better defensive setup this time around. Didn't commit to the super fast third, was able to get the pull across, and this is kind of what you expect from a guy like Drogo to swat this down. And here in this last game, like, you get the Doom Drop, you get the Liberators, but what I love is he unloads and gets this whole setup, picks off the Mothership Core, is as these Adepts come in to shade on top of the army, you're going to see all the Stalkers blink in, and he just right-clicks on those with his Marauders. Like, the Liberators absolutely will not die. The first things to die are the Stalkers, and Liberators just destroy everything.
The best thing that stood out to me about this fight was that it kind of... He retreated out and then realized, wait a minute, there's no more Stalkers here. I could just go back and land and keep that fight going, right, Roddy?
Absolutely. I mean, that was a phenomenal drop and a great way to close out the game, but I do think it's very important to mention that the early game and the mid game already absolutely went MaSa's way.
On the third
He got great pickoffs as well. When the moment you pick off the sentries, you pick off a couple of stalkers, you're forcing him to make more stalkers, and I mean, the resonating glaze was super late. You got a couple of adepts, even though adepts are cheap, it still adds up. There was one immortal that like, woo, look at me, you know, I'm running to the middle of the map straight into the Terran army. Those are things that add up. Like in that phase in the game, Protoss is supposed to get the better trades. He wasn't getting it. Then obviously MaSa realized like, hey, I've got an advantage. I can go for a drop. Obviously spotted it with the Zelnaga. Just an excellent way to close out the game. But before that, he was kind of already dominating Frost.
Yeah. Great win for him, considering he moves on to the round of 8, of course. And we can take a look at the bracket now to confirm what has gone down thus far here in day number 1. At the moment, up to the top left, we see Showtime and MaSa are going to be playing against one another in the round of 8. And oh boy, considering how their 2 series have gone so far, with Showtime having now a potential window as to what MaSa could bring to the table, that could be quite interesting, boys.
Yeah, I'm favoring Showtime going into this one, but MaSa, I mean, we were talking about his inconsistency. He said even on the couch he was a little bit nervous for this series, but that was a great series for him. He's going to be going in with a lot of momentum against a strong player. I think he's got a decent chance. I would still favor Showtime, but you know, it should be a good series.
Boys, you're going to stand up for your NA representative?
I'd actually like to favor Showtime in that matchup because, for me, I feel like a lot of this series was builds that MaSa was able to really capitalize heavily off of, especially on New Gettysburg. The first map was almost a def win just based off how aggressive it was versus the greedy third Nexus. I think Showtime's going to look at those games and say, well, all I need to do is just make sure I'm scouting for these builds. There's not too much else that's super popular outside of economic styles, and I think in that respect, that's where Showtime is really going to have a big lead over MaSa.
When Nathan is favoring the Terran, I think I say it best. Or excuse me, the Protoss. I'll say it best when I say nothing at all. Like, yeah, I favor Showtime too.
Beautiful. I love it. We'll wrap it up with that, boys. Thank you very much. All right, we are going to go to a short break, but when we are back, it will be round of 16, match number 3. It will be Neve versus Toot Ming here from the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai.